Are we on, Chief?
That's us. We're live. All right, folks. Welcome to Allergic to Silverware, the League of Ireland season preview. The last time we went live was an unmitigated disaster, but since then we enlisted the help of Oisín McLaughlin, who set this up, and it looks the part. So thanks a million for this, Oisín. As I said, Cowan, obviously it's a season preview. We'll get stuck into it. There's a lot of optimism around Harps, who kick off the new season tomorrow at home to Bows. Read an article with Tony McNamee during the week, and he was talking about it's the best Harps squad he's probably been involved in since being up there, and that would have included squads you've been in. Just want to ask you, first of all, for your sort of view on the squad and how well you think Harps can do this season.
I think they can do quite well, Chief. Optimism is, as Tony alluded to, and you mentioned there yourself, like when you look at the players, when you look at the squad that they seem to put together, a lot of experience in there. There's no area where you can point to where you could say where maybe they're lacking slightly. They've enlisted, they've gone to Scotland, they've gone to England to bring in lads. Ollie's done the work that he does every season, that he does every week to make sure he has every area covered. Bringing somebody back in like the likes of Ethan Boyle that was there last season, a couple of seasons ago before he got his move to Shamrock Rovers and then his move on to Linfield up north. Like, he's a great man to get back in. You
know him well, Cowan, from playing with him, and that is he's a good, not only a good player, but I know from chatting to you before, good character and a good personality to have around the place.
100%. I think Ethan's a great lad, and as you said there yourself, great round the changing rooms, good lad. Takes his football very seriously. Obviously, you can see by the caliber of moves that he did get.
Yes.
He obviously likes Harps. He likes Ballyfay, but like he's made the choice to come back. And he's coming from arguably two of the biggest clubs in the country.
Oh, yeah.
To come back to Harps, Ollie likes him. He's his type of player. He's athletic, he's combative. He gives everything in a Harps jersey, and he's shown that in the past. And I think Ollie and Higgsy will be hoping that he brings that in bucket. He's actually somebody that I would be looking to give the armband to this year.
Right.
That I would actually rate him that highly. And I think that the way that he conducts himself, the way that he speaks to lads in the changing rooms, his effort on the pitch, everything. He'll be one that's... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just where do you think he'll play? Obviously, I know the last time he was there, he played a lot in the middle of the park. But I know he can play, obviously, right back, and he played there a lot with Rovers. Where do you see him fitting into the Harps team? I know Ollie obviously likes his teams to be sort of, defensively sound, and he likes to play three centre halves and two wing backs. Will he play, do you think, in the wing back role, or do you see him in the middle of the park?
See, this is the one, Chief. I don't know. I haven't a clue. I was thinking about it during the week. I was doing a bit of prep there before we come on. Where is he going to play him? As you say, three centre halves. Would he play on the right side of that? He's been utilised in midfield before for Harps. Did a really good job there. As I say, that of his athletic ability, he could maybe do a job at wing back if they go three. On the right side. He'll be wanting to get Ethan in the team, I would imagine. As well as a lot of the other signings that he brought in, but I think there from last season at the back, Harps, did really well near the end. They were solid. Again, that goes to when you look at like Mark Anthony McGinley, who's been there now. This will be his third season.
Top keeper, to be fair.
Great keeper, great, vocally commanding. You look at it, and he's got Player of the Year in his last two seasons at Harps. What does that tell you? That that he's been really busy, or that he's just once
tells its own story.
Yeah, I think Mark will be a key man this year, as well as Ethan. If you want to go maybe a few other key men, somebody like
just to ask you about, you were a centre half, and obviously you were a big part of all these teams and all these success prior to you going to Glentoran. He's got a lot of quality. You've got Siddiqui there, you have Webster, you have Folan, you have McElhaney, you have Russell, and you have McGinley. That's the core of that team, really, and it's key, really, like any positions, keep those boys fit. Who do you think will be the mix up there? I know it's hard. I'm asking you to predict all these things, but who do you think his preferred back three is out of those 4 players: McElhaney, Webster, Siddiqui, and Folan? Who do you think, if you're a betting man, who do you think you go with?
You see, I suppose, this is like, we don't know who's fit, we don't know who's available, we don't know, Ollie would be keeping his cards fairly close to his chest.
Oh, absolutely.
So trying to get a team sheet off him in a pre-season friendly, I think Mickey Mouse was down there, Elvis Presley, a couple of lads like that. So, along with try list A, B, and C. So knowing what he's going to go with, we don't know. Like, on the back of last season, Siddiqui been one that came in from Hibs. I know it took him a while to settle. Speaking to a few lads around the place, he came in. I think Tom took one look at the place and was looking to get on the boat or the plane back to Hibs straight away.
He wouldn't be the first. He wouldn't be the first.
No, for sure, but he's took a bit of coaching to come back in. A few question marks over him, but I think he proved near the tail end of the season that he was one that Harps could count on, that Ollie could count on. And that's a big one for Ollie, is can he trust the player? It doesn't matter if you've come in, with a reputation, if you've been here, there, anywhere. If he thinks he can't trust you, then, you've got no chance of playing, no matter who you are now. But I think he might look to him. Obviously, like Folan's one that, has come.
He was excellent, yeah.
He's come in, big signing, big money signing. He'll have to keep, lads like that there in the team as much as possible. And then maybe you could see the likes of an Ethan Boyle playing on the right side of that there. So that would be what the one
strong
I'd be going with. All he likes his big lads in, and there'd be the 3 that I'd be looking to. But then you have the experience then of McElhaney, again utilising the middle of the field last year at times. Maybe proved that it wasn't maybe the right option, but look, you have to try things when things aren't working out. So, he's
one. I suppose, as you're saying again, it's like when you're highlighting that, it just shows you the strength and depth of the squad to have someone like a McElhaney who might not start, and that's the sort of quality that you're bringing in if somebody's suspended. But just, you were chatting about Ethan Boyd, and obviously he had a sort of successful time at Harps. I suppose another lad who was at Shamrock Rovers, I think he came on loan, was Sean Boyd. Didn't have a great spell, it's fair to say, at Harps. You obviously were in the team. Ollie's signed him back. As you say, Ollie doesn't, he's important to trust players. Now, Ollie's bringing him back for a reason. He obviously has something about him. What do you reckon? What's his attributes, and do you think he's going to be a key man this year?
Look, Sean has all the attributes of a top striker in the League of Ireland. I've played against him. I've played in the same team as him. It was a couple of years since I played against him when he was playing with Shamrock Rovers. At a young age, he might have been 19. And I thought to myself, wow, if this lad, once we signed him, I thought, brilliant, get him in, tall, good in the air, wants to run channels, wants to, and then when he came to us, I'm not sure if he actually wanted to come. It was one of those ones where, Shamrock Rovers needed him out, needed him playing games. He wasn't going to get game time there. Harps was an option for him. He came in, big lad, wanted to drop into the hole and get the feet, maybe when that wasn't really going to be the way that we were going to be playing. He would have been better, maybe trying to flick something on, or, you know what I mean? Like, so at that time, he did score a few goals. I remember scoring a good header down in against Sligo, I think. He scored a goal against Waterford. I just think, and then unfortunately, Sean O'Donnell had a bad injury. He had a bad cushion injury, and he's obviously working his way back into football now. I think maybe it's the right time to get him, because I think he's going to be hungry. I think he's going to want to make an impression. I think he's going to want to show the league what he's about.
Relaunch himself, really,
very much so. Because it came with a lot of promise. As I said, playing against him, thought he was a handful when he was younger. And I think now, I think Harps is going to be a good launch pad for him.
Brilliant. And look, obviously, as we touched on here, really strong squad all over the pitch. We'll talk about the signings in a minute, but where do you think realistically, Harps can finish this season? It was their highest finish in 20 years last year. Although I know it was a shorter format. It was a 12-game season, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How well do you think they can do? Like, are they looking at just staying out of trouble again and maybe being in a playoff or avoiding a playoff, or do you think they can push on and maybe get into the top 6? Like, what do you think? Is that realistic?
I'm pretty optimistic about this year. When you look at that squad, you have to think, we've got such a quality of players that can play loads of positions. You've kept the squad from last year pretty much, and you've built around it. Obviously, you've got goals was a problem last year.
Yes.
Even looking at the preseason games, goals hard enough to come by. A couple of set pieces and things like that. It's always going to be an area where, down through the years, Harps have always struggled, to score in the Premier League. I don't think that's any secret. Ollie said himself in an interview there that they're looking to take things up a notch. So if Ollie's been optimistic about things, then
there must be something in the water, is there?
the rest of us can get just totally carried away and think if we're not knocking on the door of Europe. Obviously, you look at the other teams that are there. You have Longford, you have Waterford. Drogheda beat Waterford today. They're 1-0. Looking at the squads that we have, or the squad that Harps have, Harps have, they have to be looking up. They have to really be looking up this time, and trying to get that blend there. Trying to hit the ground running, trying to get points on the board. Last season was a shorter season. There wasn't too many games in it. Did that work to Harps' benefit? Maybe other teams around them have got more points. I think they've done really well in the off season. I think Ollie deserves a lot of credit for what he's got in, and I think a lot of other teams will be very worried this year. Very much.
Yeah,
so.
I think you've nicely taken us on there when you're talking about Ollie doing good business there in the off season to the new signings. I mean, some of the ones that stand out, obviously your man comes with a lot of pedigree, Ryan Shanley, and you've got Olabi as well that's came and has good pedigree. I mean, they're two players, like that's a sort of almost a statement as well, isn't it, of ambition, and that you're attracting these type of players to the club that you do really want to kick it on. I know we both don't know a whole lot about them, but they're the type of signings that are going to excite supporters ahead of the new season, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think the big one is, or the big disappointment is that the fans can't get in to see these players. I think if nothing whets appetite more than getting to Fun Park, on a Friday or Saturday night, and it'll be a packed house for Bows. There'll be a lot of optimism as we talked about, wanting to see these players. And I was just kind of one there where I was looking today. The League of Ireland started there a couple of hours ago. There's not much hype about it. Social media is very quiet, obviously, if you look in the right channels, but there's not much hype about it. And I think, as Harps fans, and fans of the club, and, I think we do have a reason to be excited this year with what has been put together.
Definitely.
Obviously, these lads, like bringing in Siddiqui last year from Hibs, going to Scotland, getting a player, not really
and a good profile, like a good age profile as well. It's not like they're getting lads, that are coming, at the age of maybe 33, 34. These are young lads looking to come here and make an impact. And as you say, it can only play into their hands.
Well, that's it. I think it's a credit to the product as well. The League of Ireland, that the top clubs in Scotland and places like that are willing to send players here to improve them. Instead of maybe lower leagues in England or even lower leagues in Scotland, that they're sending them here, that they're getting them, first team football. Hopefully, this guy's going to play again. We look at the squad, the signings. O'Sullivan last year, did really well when he was fit. There's loads of lads there. Where are they all going to fit in? Because that's another problem Ollie's going to have now, and maybe a problem he's never had before. He's going to have to keep these lads. He's going to have to keep these lads happy. He's got professional footballers there now. That are going to, if they're not playing, come middle of the season, they're going to be wanting away.
Absolutely.
Is there enough in Donegal to keep these boys
The grill's closed now and everything. Hey, so I mean that's another blow.
End of many man's career, Chief, you reckon?
Absolutely. I just see a few comments coming in here, and wouldn't be like Tony McNamee to rain in the parade here. He's already rating off your man Shanley, saying he played for Keelty Celtic. That's the equivalent to KG Rovers. Well, KG Rovers, one of the most famous clubs in Ireland, so I don't know where he's at there, but that's an old Swilly man there stirring the pot. But just in terms of a local lad that signed back at Harps, or not signed back at Harps, but obviously was at Wolves, was tore up the Senior League for the last couple of years, Ryan Rainey. Real good opportunity. I'm really excited to see him play for Harps this year. Again, you hope he gets an opportunity. The squad's so competitive, but you might know a wee bit more about Rainey than I do, Cowan. What do you reckon there? Good signing for Harps?
I think we spoke about launchpad for careers and stuff like that. We spoke about Sean Boyd there just a second ago. Like, here's another one, like Ryan Rainey, all the ability in the world. Again, can play a couple of positions. He might want to play in the middle of the field. Ollie might think about something different for him. But I trained a bit with him last year. He's at Donegal, and there's a couple of nights I couldn't get up to Belfast, so I was just training with them. And to see, like, technically very good, sees the pass, delivery excellent. Again, will he play? Will he start? Hopefully he does. I would love to see a local man get a chance and stay in the team, and again prove. There'll be a couple of doubters. That will definitely be thinking, no, he's not at the races, but hope he gets a chance. I hope if it doesn't work out for him early on, that he stays true, that he gives himself an opportunity, that it won't happen just overnight for him. If he's
tough. Like, he's going to have to be patient probably at stages. You look at some of the other signings, just if he is looking to play in the middle of the field, you've got your man Seymour's came from Sligo. But I think a player Harps have signed, and it's a shrewd bit of business, is your man Conor Barry. He scored 25 goals from midfield in 100 games. That's someone who, obviously knows where the back of the net is. It's not an easy, you don't find a lot of midfielders that score those, hit those type of numbers in the League of Ireland. He could be a huge player for Harps. I don't know if you came up against him much, Cowan, or you played against him much, or you can give us a wee bit of insight into him, but definitely looks like another good bit of business by Ollie.
Yeah, well, Ollie's tapped into the local market there down in Galway, and got himself maybe
down Shop Street.
A rough diamond down Shop Street. Look, to score, like, we know what it's like in the first division. Score 25 goals. Over a couple of seasons there, 3 or 4 seasons or whatever it was. Like, that's a great achievement for a young lad. He obviously wants a taste of Premier League football. Ollie's got him up the road. I think he could be one that that could be called upon. I don't think he will start many games.
All right, fair enough.
That's my opinion. Looking on what we have in those type of areas, looking what Harps have in those type of areas, I think he's one that maybe might. But look, here to be proved wrong. Hope he does really well.
Actually, it's probably a good point, because you're thinking Caulfield's down at Galway at the minute, and he's it looks like things are going to kick off there, and he's let him go. So maybe that is an indication that he isn't, not that he's not a good player, but maybe that, as you say, he might be more of a squad player for Harps. I've got a question here from Kieran Cannon. He said, are the midfielders that have signed better than Gareth Harkin, Raf, and Adrian Delap? What do you reckon there? Obviously Harkin, we've talked about Harkin, we had him on the podcast. Huge loss.
We can only speculate. We can only speculate on the lads that have come in. That's like, your guess is as good as mine at the minute. I think the guy Seymour that we got, or that Harps got from, I keep saying we, sorry.
We'll need to see more of him before we make an observation.
That's the level you're after, Chief. That's the level you're at the minute.
That's shocking. I'm struggling here. I'm nervous. We're live. Let that one slide. He's an American. Will he be as big an impact as Pat McCann? Who knows?
Yeah, well, I hope so. If he has half the impact that McCann has, we'll do very well. That's for sure. But there's only one Pat McCann in my book. Look, Seymour coming in, appearances for Sligo last year, not too many. Was involved in a couple of the uni sides over in America and a couple of the underage sides. Obviously brought in as a midfielder to do that number 6 role. My sources are your sources, Chief. would have thought or said that maybe couldn't lace Harkin's books. Is that fair enough? Did we get a...
That's the word in the street. That's the word in the street. But maybe we're a wee bit biased because we're Team Harkin.
Yeah,
but, maybe so. Hey, as soon as things don't go wrong, hey, like Harkin will be the. It was like the time Ozil there was left out of the Arsenal squad. He was the problem. He was the, if he was available,
right.
he'll be the Ozil. Harkin will be the Ozil now of Harps. Like, but
no, like I think I suppose Harkin. If you want to talk about Gareth Harkin, like massive loss. Just in terms of been around the club, knows the layout, knows the lads. I know when he didn't re-sign, I suppose is the most diplomatic way to put it. Like there was big disappointment. Obviously, we spoke to Raf, a couple of weeks ago, saying that he was one that was probably overlooked in terms of maybe one of the first signings Ollie should have been getting back in. The work that he does goes on unnoticed at times. Again, we'll see more come in and do a better job, but it might be just Seymour that we're looking at. Well, it could be a Ryan Rainey, it could be someone else. We don't know who's going to play that role. It could be someone we talked about.
As you say, we're speculating. Like all you can say is that looking at the squad, there is a lot of quality there. Though Tony McNamee said here that Timlin's back. You mentioned this as well. That Timlin is like a new signing. That's what he said. How good a player is Timlin when he's at it?
Well, Mark's going. He's one of the best out there. One of the best that I've played with. One of the best, even like in training. Well, even in training, when Mark's on it, he can make you look kind of silly at times. He's got great feet. Just like you said, just like a new signing. I think that if he can stay fit, was a bit of a question mark over that because he was kind of stop-start there for a while. Hopefully he's over the worst of his injuries. A good lad as well, honest lad. One of the guys that you want around the place. I think that if he can stay fit, I think he'll do really well this year. I think he will be another one. He'll be a key man for me, and he'll be one that other teams will be worried about.
And what about your man Nain McGinley as well? He's back in. He's someone as well. Be looking to come and hit the ground running as well. Like we're going through these, it is some squad when you think about it, and I think a lot of the lads here commenting on the side, Nisha O'Farrell is just saying, you forget how big the squad actually is.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and Niall's one as well that was involved a lot in the early stages of the season 2-3 years ago. There,
what's his best attribute? Like, what's his best attribute? Do you think? What is it that differentiates him? Maybe other players in there.
I think he play that, but further forward. Just in the midfield. But again, you've got a lot of you've got Ryan Connolly there. You've got Barry McNamee there. Niall McGinley will also fit into that mold for me. He was there, and I saw a lot of it. A good player, carries the ball really well, very strong. Fitness wise, again, at that time, I thought he could have been slightly fitter. He went to.
Don't worry about the fitness, lad. Sure, don't worry about that. It's fine as long as he can play. That's the main thing. Sure, Tony McNamee's not the fittest man in the world, but he's a quality player.
Yeah, for sure. And again, there's one as well that we haven't even touched on yet. Is Tony McNamee, brilliant player. Obviously we know other attributes that he has. His long throw is going to be one. If you're going to have 6 footers plus all along the back 3 or 5 or whatever, are we going to get to see more of Tony? I saw him actually the other day, just past him there. He looks in good shape. I'd like to see Tony play a lot more. But just go back to Niall there. A young lad that's come back in. I felt that he maybe left a bit prematurely. I think again.
Why was he frustrated at not playing and maybe left before not seeing it out?
Yeah, I think it might have been. I do know that he went off to university as well, so that might have played a part. Because I know that obviously he moved up north and he was actually up at Glentoran, so he was trained a bit up at Glentoran and then moved to Dungannon. Again, he's a man that needs football, needs to be playing football. Hope he stays patient because I don't think that he will be. Now again, I know Higgsy's a big fan of his, so
that'll help him then.
That'll help him for sure. So I think if they can get him in, get him in early. Again, hope he's as fit as he can be, and he is a quality footballer. No doubt about that.
And Karen, just as well, obviously we're chatting about Harkin and at the loss he is. Obviously, someone you played with a lot as well was Sam Todd, who has been a brilliant player for Harps. Now we've talked about the strength and depth there at the back. So people might say, well, he's not going to be that much of a loss. But what's your opinion on how good a centre half is he from someone who you're better placed than anyone from playing alongside him for so long? How good a player is he?
Yeah, played a lot with Sam. Loved him. Great kid. Technically excellent. Great in the air. One of Sam's, I suppose, downfalls for me was I thought at times, he's very hard on himself. And
right.
At times, like any wee mistake, not that he would totally drop the head, but you see him beating himself up at times. And I played a lot of games with Sam, and as I said, really enjoyed playing with him. Great guy, so honest. And I think when he did move, or when the talk of him moving to UCD, I think Ollie was quite happy for him to go.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think. Well, I moved to UCD where he can get his education and play football at a high level. I think for any young lad is a great tool, or is a great place to be going. If you look at UCD squad throughout the years, you think of the talent that's come out of that squad, Chief. We could be here all day, all top players, all at top League of Ireland clubs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I think,
if you say it's a good move for him, in terms of education, he's played 70, 80 odd games for Harps, so it probably makes sense. Just seen a comment here coming in as well from Mark Anderson. He was talking about Mark Russell, and that's a player we've talked about before who's absolutely quality. He reckons he's the best fullback in the league. He probably is. What's your opinion on him, and is he better than Kieran Call? I'm putting you on the spot here now.
Is he better than Kieran Call?
Nah, you don't have to answer that if you don't want to. But Russell is a top player, and again, someone obviously that they got in from Scotland, and he seems to like it at Harps. And would you agree with that assessment that he is one of the best left backs in the league?
I think so. I think getting forward, I think he's probably I'd say Mark would be more of a left winger than a left back. You know what I mean? I think he's very naturally gifted at moving with the ball. He can travel a pace. I think that he chipped in with a couple of goals last year as well, big goals. I think, and one again that he obviously seems to like it here. This will be his third season here now under Ollie. Great to keep him, great to get him back. I'm actually surprised that maybe he hadn't had a few offers, maybe closer to home that would have tempted him. Obviously, it's Scottish lad, and he's again great around the dressing room, good lad. Gets involved in the crack. And those lads are so important as well. When you're building the dressing room as well as building the team, it's important to have guys out there that do like the surroundings, will get involved, will say, look, I'm here, I'm going to make the best of this situation. And he's done that, and he's done his career no harm at all.
Absolutely, absolutely. So look, before we kind of move off, we're both on the same page here, and I think a lot of the lads commenting, we're all optimistic. Kieran Cannon reckons he feels it's the best squad in 20 years. It's probably hard to argue with that. So we are optimistic. Where do you think? I'm gonna put out there. I think Harps could finish 6th this season. I'm gonna go. I think 6th. I think one of those other clubs, whether it's Sligo or Derry. I don't think Derry were great last year at all. Jury's out for me on them, to be honest. And some of the signings as well. I know they got Parkhouse back. We'll not go too much into Derry. I know he's a big signing, but you just don't know. So I'm going to say I think Harps going to be hard to beat. They've got quality in all areas. So I'm going to say 6th. So maybe you could be back me box now. What do you reckon?
No, 6th. I think we could. I suppose 6th is realistic. It's very realistic. I don't think we'd be getting, people could accuse you of getting too carried away by going 6th.
True.
The word in the camp is that, we're definitely looking up this year, not looking down. Relegation isn't even being talked about, So, I think with the investment that they've done, and I think that, I said it, Ollie, the board as well, they seem to be really proactive, and they seem to be doing, obviously to bring in that caliber of player, that squad together, they need to be doing something behind the scenes.
100%.
There's never been as as a proactive, getting stuff done in the public, getting around, you know, and I think they deserve huge credit as well.
100%.
So I think if we say sixth, I'm going to go one more. I'm going to say fifth, Chief. I'm
Oh,
going to get slightly bit more carried away than you, and I'm going to go.
You'll be getting a text message from Ollie after this. Hey, he'll not be happy with you.
Oh, he'll be slating me, 100%. But look, I think that'll be the one. I think, you know, we talked about before when you go through, I know in pre-season where they have that useless exercise of going through each team in the league and saying, right, Dundalk, how many points are we going to get against Dundalk this season? And you have Higgsy with a marker, right, come here, and he's looking around at you, and you're like, well, fuck, I better not say none, or he'll be like, why not? You know,
that was the worst exercise ever. Remember, what old was he? Remember, we had about 9 games left in the season, and we were trying to get in the top 3. And I think we had 27 points from the last 9. We were all going, we'll get 3 points there. All right, that's 3 points there. Madness, like absolute madness. A lot of the fans here coming on, they're saying, Dahi Tracy says Harps for Europe. Eaton Lee, Harps for Europe. Tony McNamee saying Harps 7th. Who else there? Kieran Cannon 7th. I think everyone's in around there, but 5th, look here, who knows that? The squad's quality, but I think you probably need that bit of luck too, don't you, in terms of keeping key players fit, not getting suspensions. Like, you know, you can say...
Massive. Like, what we talked about there early doors, Chief, was, you know, Mark Anthony McGinley. Mark Anthony breaks his finger in the first game. Hope to God he doesn't, touch wood he doesn't now. But, like, you know, then you're calling on a guy... A young lad they brought from Sligo, Luke Nicholas or something like that. Is it a young lad they brought up from there? You know, so you're looking at him.
Don't know much about him. Like, I don't know why McGarvey's not the number 2 or what.
Well, there's young. Something we spoke about before. Young Pat McGarvey. You know, should he be considered second choice? I'd be hoping so at this stage because, you know, even in my time there, looked very good in training. Great shot stopper. You know. He's somebody that
he's from a good part of town too. Like he's from a good, rich footballing heritage there, KG Rovers. Like, you know, so
back maybe he's looking and he's thinking, well, the last player that I had from down there wasn't worth the fucking wasn't worth. So I'm gonna
Jesus, that's fucking very harsh, lad. Hey, there's a good few comments in here. Bartley Ramsey's accusing us of drinking because we're being optimistic. That's the problem, you see, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, we need to change the culture. I actually found it refreshing that Ollie, for once, wasn't chatting about, we'll be lucky to stay up, lads. We'll be lucky to stay up. Give me 9th now. So, like, that needs to change as well. And I think you have to be optimistic to say, look, that squad is quality and a lot of experience there. Why not? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a good comment there. It's just shown up there by Ian Gallagher there. Like, still to prove that we're not a yo-yo club, 8 to stay up, cup run, great season, continues progress. Like, I think that can be the least that we expect. I think that's a fair comment. Like, you know, we're getting slightly carried away. But I think what Ollie will look at this season and Higgsy, and maybe why he is being slightly more optimistic than he was last year, like, you look at that squad, you know, there's no real young lads in there. Like, he's got a lot of experience in there. You know, like,
lots of experience.
A lot of experience in there. It's a dressing room full of lads that have been around the league now at this stage, know what it's about. Obviously, we have a few lads that have just come in, but they've come from a high level of football. You know, there's no one. They've all come from, you know, men's football as such. You know, so I think Bartley, your mind's off it. I think I know the lads haven't been drinking. I think we're just being optimistic, and I think I think Ollie's given us a reason to be. And it's no look here. And 2 months' time, we say, Bartley, you're spot on. You know,
we're putting the neck out there. Hey, we're putting our neck. I just see a comment coming in. There's a bit of a not dispute, but Nigel Haggerty saying there's no point McGarvey sitting on the bench for the season, better developing the 19. So I don't agree with that. Like, just for the perspective of, I was at Harps when Kieran Gallagher played when he was 17, and Sean Patton came off the bench when he was 16, I think, and played. And they got an opportunity to play first team football because you don't know when that opportunity is going to come around, especially for a goalkeeper. Yeah. And, you know, if Mark McGinley was to get injured, which you don't want, it could lead to an opportunity where Patrick could get 6 games, 7, 8 games. And, like, as a goalkeeper, you need that, because it's all right if you're a defender or a midfielder striker, you can get thrown on for 15 minutes here, 20 minutes here, the odd game like that. So I'm going to have to disagree with Nigel there on that one. But maybe I'm again biased because he's a local lad and I want to see him up there. But I don't know. Do you agree with me there, Count, or do you think it makes sense?
Well, I think it's a funny one. I think just looking at that there's something about that maybe he was throwing in his part as the Seymour deal, that they want to get, Ollie's looking for Seymour and he's saying, right, I'll give you Seymour, but I want you to take a young goalkeeper up as well and get him a bit of experience to get him time, because he's obviously not thinking about giving him any time down here. Sligo brought in Richard Brush as their number 2. Obviously, Ed McGinty's number 1. So I think unfortunately to Paddy's detriment, and I'm sure if you ask Paddy what he'd rather do, he'd be saying, well, get me into the first team. Like, he's ambitious. He's a youth international. He want to be knocking on the door and just, getting the feel for those nights and being around
100%.
the first team squad. Obviously, he might train with the first team squad. I'm sure he does. But, I
agree with you 100%.
If he's going, here, he wouldn't be the first young lad that if he has to go to Dublin on a Friday night and the 19s are playing on a Saturday, that he couldn't go and play for the 19s as well. So you might want to check the connection settings in the Google Home app. That's one there. So I'm getting a bit of chip here from the Google.
Is Alexa chatting to you there? Is she, Chief? Is she telling you to get rid of that ponytail or what? You're gone. Don't tell me you're gone. Don't do this to me.
I'm back. I'm back.
You're back. Any other comments jumping out at you there, lads?
Let me see. Just join now. That Shane O'Gara, what's the crack? Tony McNee wants to get O'Gara back in.
Shane O'Gara, what is it? O'Gara, poor fella. Do you remember the stick he used to get? He used to work in the crab factory up in Meenaneri or whatever, on the side of a mountain, and everyone would be like, Jesus, lad, you need to get a shower. Poor fella was. Just were harsh on him. He was straight in from the straight in, but good lad. But I don't think O'Gara will be coming back. Hey, so that's enough on Harps. We'll talk a wee bit now, Chief, just about the other lads that are playing.
Sorry, Chief, just to cut across you, there's an interesting point here.
Carry on there. There's a comment that's jumped out.
Our mate Fez has threw up. Some hardcore Sligo fans on Twitter are convinced Luke McNeilis won't be first choice. I'm just going to
Mark McGinn.
Move on. Cheers, Fez, for that. Love the input. You can tell those Sligo fans, forget about
Adrian Ferry, you concentrate in German football. That's all that man tweets about.
He's only doing us a favour. He's only bringing it to our attention, to be fair. I'm going to go with Fez.
No, he slagged me in one of the comments earlier about my bad Seymour joke, so he's in the naughty list. Here, Kevin, up the Rovers. What was I going to say there? All right, look, obviously, lad, another fella's back from England, Shane Blaney. He's at Sligo. You obviously know a bit more about him than me. I'm not really offering much of this at all, Chief. I'm putting you on the spot here again, but obviously he's at Sligo. Good move for him. Do you see him going there and playing? Good player.
Yeah. Again, I'm not too familiar with what Sligo have, but a very solid player, left-sided. So they're kind of like gold dust, those lads. So, but I do know Sligo did have a good back four last year. Regan Donovan playing left back, who was up at Harps, spending a while there as well. So he'll be hoping again that we talked about it. We mentioned Rainey, we mentioned Sean Boyd, a young lad who's come back, went to Doncaster, a couple of loan spells, and he's going to come back now and launch his career hopefully at Sligo. Again, the short time that he was involved with Harps when I was there, he great lad, very grounded, good attitude, really wanting to learn, but hopefully now this would be his stage to show what he's about.
Is Johnny still I know Johnny Dunleavy's had his injury problems. I know he didn't play that much last year. Again, it was a shorter season, so I don't know if any of the
Johnny left. I think John's gone.
From what I
heard, John's gone. I think he left just before Christmas there.
So is he unattached, Dunleavy unattached then, is he? Or is he saying?
I don't know that. I'm not his agent, Chief. I only know that he's left the club. So
right. Well, I thought, seeing if you had heard he's left, you would have normally asked, who's he gone for? Like, that's a normal follow-up question. But as you can see, I'm asking the questions for that sort of reason.
I didn't want to be rattling my sources too much. I want to just keep them. I don't want to be choking them for information.
Protect your sources. Now, well, anyway, Blaney, good to see him. Like, obviously back. Good move for him, and hopefully it works out for him. By all accounts, see Kevin Shaky here saying quality player.
Yeah.
So who else? Georgie Kelly. Look, is he someone who obviously scored loads of goals for UCD? Went to Dundalk, done quite well at Dundalk, but then went out and loaned to St. Pat's. Didn't really work for him at St. Pat's. He's now got another great move at Bows, but it's one of them now where he's bounced about a few clubs. It sort of needs to work for him, I would say. Is that a fair statement, do you think? Needs to.
Yeah, like, Georgie is a funny one for me because, I played against him a lot, UCD and Dundalk, and, always a handful, always, score goals. I think, unfortunately for him, with Dundalk and their, embarrassment of riches, like, he wasn't really going to get a fair shout. He was very much, maybe when they played against us at times, he was the one that played, and Hogan was, on the bench. So, like, maybe not giving a fair crack. And
but he almost done well, though, didn't he, Chief? When he did,
always did well. Always, he always did really well. But he was just one that I felt was called upon, or maybe threw in when the game wasn't as big. So always, Kai McCarron always scores against Harps. I remember them well. Yeah, always good for a goal against us. The move to Pats, good move for him. It's hard to judge anybody on the tail end of what happened last year. It was a very stop-start for everyone. Maybe even another way, are we getting too excited about what happened at Harps off the back of last season? Because, not to be getting to keep talking about Harps, I suppose, but like, this is the move now. I think Georgie maybe wants to be the main man. He was used to being the main man at UCD. Not so much then at Dundalk, obviously, Hogan was the main man. And then now he's getting his opportunity at Bows.
He'll be their main. You think he'll be their main striker at Bows? Because
I think so. I think he has to be. I think with Andy Wright going, I think with Denny Corkin going, they have a couple other strikers that left as well. I think Georgie Kelly will be looking to lay down a marker, and to prove to Dundalk maybe he shouldn't have let me go. Not putting too much pressure on him. Obviously, he's still a young lad, but I think this season he'll be looking to kick on now and to really make a name for himself.
Yeah, I think you're right. I just see I'm getting trolled here by James Doherty. He's got his wee Kilmacrennan Mafia, Rab Sandilands, and all these boys giving me stick about Funtown Harps that I'm going to sign for Funtown Harps. That's the type of people you're dealing with. Hey, James Doherty, sad man. I wonder will Kilmacrennan win the league again this year in the boardroom, or will they actually try and win it when the league does go back properly? Hey, but we'll not get into that.
Doesn't matter. See, they'll still have the day out the boss anyway, no doubt. If they win.
That's it. Hey, Kieran Call at Derry. He's done well, to be fair. Since
he's done well. He's done very well.
He's done excellent. And obviously not easy sometimes when you've spent the length of time that he obviously did at Harps going into Derry. The Derry fans are probably maybe going to give him a bit of stick or whatever, but he seems to endear himself to them fans in there, and they like him. And he's been really, really good, hasn't he? Like he calls a top player. Like
Call as a top player. He's one that's gone in and settled really quickly for them. Solid, like does the basics really well. Good defender. He'll be one that like they'll be looking at this year because he's one as well. Like when you look at it, they've kind of gone nearly full circle. They've had a big clean out last season. They have a lot of new lads coming in. Call be looked upon as kind of one of the main voices in the changing room. Well, he should be now at this stage. He's at the age where he should be taking a lot of responsibility on his shoulders and looking really because we don't really know how it's going to go for them either. Obviously, they have a good side. Devine and McCourt will do really well putting together a good side. They'll play a good brand of football. They have still a couple of lads. Harkin's still there. Toll's still there. Cole's still there. Garside, the keeper that called up the Northern Ireland squad there.
Yes, brilliant.
So that'll give him a boost. But again, he's one that hasn't played a lot of games. 4 or 5 appearances for Derry first team. So and they'll be looking to him. Obviously, Cherry's moved on to Dundalk. So again, the jury will be out very much in them, and they'll be under the microscope. The first couple of games is to see how they're gonna start the season. A young lad, Ronan Boyce from Ramelton. Hopefully he's going to get a bit of game time this season. Obviously, they have a lot of experience at centre half, but there's a lot of good stuff coming out about him. Again, a youth international. I played with his dad, Marty. So if he's anything about him, like the old boy, a lot of craft. a lot of guy decent on the ball. So I'm looking
Marty
forward.
Boy's a great player.
Looking forward to seeing how the young lad progresses now.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant, lad. And just I see a comment come in from Robert Love. What a great name, by the way. But Derry have consistently underperformed given the money they're getting put into the club. That's probably a fair enough statement, isn't it? It's probably something that Felix alluded to a lot when he was on the podcast with us as well. That have they really got a return on the money that they've put in and stuff? So I don't know. That's a big. I'd say Devine. If things were, just to say, hypothetically, if things weren't to go well in the first half a dozen games of the season, he'd probably come under pressure, I'd say, in there, because the expectations at Derry are high and they expect to be challenging. So
they have, and I suppose that goes back to we had on the podcast as well, like Barry Malloy, and the expectancy level of Derry Football Club is massive, and when you think about cup success, and they're one that it's a real football in town, it's a real football in city, they love it, and once they're able to get back into the Brandywell as well, that place is with the McBride, that place is going to be rocking, and if things aren't going well in the summer, and they're going to be asking questions, and as we say, the amount of investment, again, a new squad, how's it going to go for them again? I'm not too sure.
Do you think here? Absolutely agree with that. But do you think having someone like Paddy McCourt, huge name, what a player in that, but he's obviously heavily involved in the coaching. Do you think it's nearly would Devine? Obviously, he has him involved, but that way where if things don't go well, some people, Derry fans, be like, give the job to Paddy, and that that could almost be sometimes a problem for Devine, where you've got somebody like McCourt who he wants involved in the staff, but if things start to go on, don't go well, it can be pointed to maybe give him an opportunity. But it'll be interesting to see how it pans out there. And
Yeah, I suppose I don't really see Paddy in that role, maybe just yet. You know what I mean? I don't think he would be.
But you know how it can happen sometimes.
Very much
realize happened with Pizza when Pizza was there under Roddy. Things weren't going well. Roddy all of a sudden was, let's get Pizza. And I'm not saying that would happen at Derry, but do you see him, Paddy, as a manager future down the line, or do you think he wants to be sort of his role will be in developing players and as a coach?
I think at the moment, obviously I don't know, I'm not inside Paddy's head, I don't know what he's thinking, but at the present moment in time, I think he'd be looking very much on the development side. I think he's quite calculated in the way that he would operate in the dressing room. I think he still maybe has a lot to learn in terms of the management and that there. So, but as you said, Chief, as soon as things don't go right, the people, the supporters will look to a hero of theirs to try and get them in there. You see it happen at all levels of football. Even if we go across and start talking about like Steven Gerrard, Liverpool, they're looking Klopp out. Who's next? I'll get Gerrard in.
Gerrard on that.
Gerrard's not going to take that job. He'd be stupid. Because where do you go from there? If it doesn't work out from there, where do you go? And I think Paddy's doing really well on the development side of things. So I think that's where you want to stay and support Decky as much as you can and support the players. Someone who's been to the top level, who's done it. And to have someone to have to look up to for those young lads is brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely, lad. And just before we move off the League of Ireland, obviously. Kevin Sheedy's the manager at Waterford. What a player he was for Everton in Ireland, and it's always good to have a name like that. I know John Sheridan was there, but didn't endear himself with some of the comments he made, I think, during the game against Dundalk. But do you think that would work against him? Obviously, you've had people like Paul Cook and stuff and Barcliffe come over and have great success, but at a club like Waterford, he wouldn't have a great knowledge of the league. So it's probably going to be a difficult gig for Sheedy down there at Waterford.
Again, I don't know. I don't know what Kevin Sheehy knows about League of Ireland, Chief. What type of way? He again is doing a real rebuild. In terms of the players that are coming in. A lot of the top lads left from last year, went around the league, and he's going to be he seemed to the team that he put out today was a real bunch of young lads. Sometimes that can work for you, work against you. They'll be hungry. They'll want to prove themselves. They'll run all day for you. There'll be no real. Well, you would hope there'll be no real attitudes in there. No prima donnas. Everybody's kind of pulling in one direction. So, a stupid man once said, "You don't want nothing with kids," and then we seem to see what materialized out of that. Like so,
Alan Hansen, legend. Well, I just see some comments coming in here. Tony McNee was saying Sheedy, his assistant Mike Newell, he was sent off this evening, and Robert Lowe said he'll be under pressure, he thinks, because it's an experienced team. Adrian Ferry thinks Waterford's going to be bottom, too many loan signings from across the water, and a mess in the boardroom. So a lot of discussion will be interesting to see. But look, lad, we've been chatting nonsense for 50 minutes. We'll wrap it up here now, maybe by chatting a little bit about the Republic of Ireland squad. I've got to be honest with you, like, I look at that squad and it does not fill me with any confidence at all. I just think it's a massive lack of quality. Like, I sent it to you on WhatsApp, and I was just like, it's hard to see. Like, I just don't see it. Like, I know there's a lot of chat about rebuilding and youth, and totally get that, but I just think we're lacking massive quality. What's your opinion on it, like, at the minute?
I just feel sorry again. I feel sorry for Stephen Kenny. I feel sorry for the injury concerns that he has. Like, it just seems his tenure so far has just seemed to be one blow after the next in terms of, obviously, results have been terrible. You know, like your top lads. We look at Shane Duffy and. He can't even get a game at Celtic now, and he was, arguably our best player and biggest goal threat there for a while. It just doesn't seem to be working out for him. You're looking at where the goal's going to come from. Have you one striker maybe playing in the Premier League in England? Although he could, like Robbie Brady, is another injury concern. I don't know if he's in or out. He had an Achilles problem during the week. I just don't see, and again, he has that thing. He has a two. Probably again, looking at our strongest position, right back. Does he play Coleman? Does he play Doherty?
Doherty's having a stinking time of it, isn't he? At the minute at Spurs, like I see it on Twitter. The Spurs fans are absolutely. Sometimes obviously things aren't going well. Certain players are made to be a scapegoat. Like, and he certainly seems to be, whether it's merited or not. I've seen him in a couple of games. He has been poor. Whether he deserves the criticism he's getting to that extent. But I mean, I felt, my opinion, I know it, and again, probably biased from Donegal, but I felt Coleman, like, as your captain, as your leader, it was a poor decision, in my opinion, from Kenny, not to play him. I don't care what anyone says. I just think it was the wrong.
Yeah,
it was the wrong
I think so as well. Obviously, where we are slightly biased, but we've seen what Coleman has done over the years, and no one could ever doubt his commitment or his, like, every time he's pulled on an Irish jersey, he's never let the team down. He's been absolutely brilliant. I think that you have to get the two of them in the team. You know why? Because they're both quality players, and so he has to figure it out for me. I think again, another one. I seen Kevin threw up there. Kelleher has to get the starting jersey. Again, untested at international level, has played obviously for Liverpool Champions League games. Looks very solid, coming back off an injury now as well. Is he going to be ready? He just has so many headaches,
Randall's never put it. I think Randall's been next in goalkeeper for Ireland, to be fair.
100%. Yeah, never put a foot wrong. But again, just not. He doesn't seem to be. He doesn't seem to be looked fondly upon when he gets across the water. Like, it's just. It's a tricky one for me now. But again, the problem, like we said, goals. Where are we going to get goals from?
I know. I mean, who's your biggest threat? Like, I mean, Conley, isn't it? Really, Aaron Conley.
Conley, yeah. I saw Conley. I thought he was going to be injured now, but I see him being in there. He was in the squad. Is he fully fit? How much has he played for Brighton over the last couple of weeks? Again, like, we seem to sort of. When he's played, he's looked good for Ireland. He's exciting. Has he played in the right areas? Are they going to go back? Are they going to? Is James McLean going to play? Bags of energy, quality sometimes can be called into question. I really wonder. I think somebody threw up there, Robert, obviously, like Pep couldn't get Ireland into the World Cup, like, really couldn't. So
I know it's a tough job. I think that the sort of the Doherty Coleman thing. I think Doherty or Coleman could play as the right of a back three. Yeah. Play maybe three centre halves and play Doherty as a wing back with Enda Stevens, who both play in wing back positions for their club, which would make sense. And it gives you that protection as well, out of possession. They can fall in as a back five, because I think in international football, the biggest thing is to be organised. And I know Stephen's trying to change the style of football and the brand, but it's tough. I don't know. It's definitely a tough one. I see a comment here from Michael McDougall. Doherty got away with a lot in Wolves' team, where he was protected well by a solid back three and a well-drilled team. At Spurs, they're visibly a mess, and he's been found out defensively in particular. So that goes again. Then he's probably not good in a flat back four. So, and I don't think he's done well in a flat back four when he's played for Ireland. So it would make sense to get Coleman, Doherty in the team, play a back five with Coleman slotting in as a centre half.
Very much so. Like, we seen him play his best stuff at Wolves when he played as a wing back. So why not try and make him into a right back? You can see that he's not good there. He was always he was exciting, I think, to watch, because it was going forward where he caused the most mayhem. He's getting goals, left on the back post, doing really well, full of energy. But defensively, Coleman, I think, can do both. I think he is also very good at getting forward. You see him forever in there, popping up in the edge of the box times. Again, getting the odd one at the back post. I find that just Doherty, again, he'll be coming in like a bag of nails as well. From the European stuff. What he got doesn't seem to rate him at all. Rena doesn't seem to fancy him. He's playing him, but it doesn't seem to be too positive for him. But sure, here,
I think that's the biggest worry, isn't it? Like, you're looking at that Ireland squad, and there's nobody really in it. That's like Duffy struggling. Randolph's not first choice. Keller's not first choice. Enda Stevens is in a Sheffield United team struggling. Jeff Hendricks having a torrid time at Newcastle. Conley's in and out. There's not one player really off the top of my head that you could say he's on it. Like, he's on it every week and he's flying.
Hendrick for me, as a lad, has been getting away with murder for months and months. He plays every minute of every game. And you see him for Newcastle, and he seems to be bombing, he seems to go, he seems to get on the ball, passing, all very good. But when he comes to Ireland, it's just like fulfilling a fixture really for him. I don't see it. Maybe.
Same. He's been poor.
But I think it's that one as well. Chief. Who else have you got? Who else can really do that job, or who can? You're looking down the leagues. You're looking down. You're
looking down. I mean, Huron had the Lee fella to go and get football at Swansea, doing quite well there. But again, that's the level we're at, where he's not getting a game for a Premier League club, and he's going down into the Championship. So that's the problem at the minute. But hopefully things will turn for Stephen, because look, it's like anything. People don't care how good or bad the squad is. If they don't get results, I don't think if Ireland don't qualify for the World Cup in Qatar, I think he's going to be out of a job. I don't care. People are chatting about rebuilding and all that, and I totally get it, but he's just not going to get the time, is he? So
I don't think so. I think it just seems, as I said, it seems to be one thing after another. It was and when your coaching staff are all leaving as well, that just doesn't. It's just not to be on Kenny's case, and I'm sure he doesn't give a shit, but he's only going to be watching this and give a damn what we say, Chief. So
we'll get him on. We'll get him on for a chat.
We'll see what he says. I think we had all optimism early on with the Harps stuff, and now it's all pessimism. Now we're all just like, this international break's going to be another shambles. There's going to be, again.
I suppose I was so excited, not excited, but I thought it was a great appointment, and I thought, him coming in, at least Ireland games will be bearable to watch, because when you're getting results and the football's ugly, it doesn't matter. Who cares? You're getting the results. But when obviously towards the end of Martin O'Neill's reign, the football was minging, and McCarthy came in, didn't really change. It was still minging, and we're still drawn with Georgia and stuff like that. So you're thinking, at least with Kenny, we'll be able to watch a decent round of football. But it's been equally as bad, I think. Like, seeing Darren Randolph rolling the ball out every single time to Shane Duffy's just depressing. You know what I mean? And I feel sorry for Duffy. He's not a ball playing centre half. So it's just, you're kind of going, what's going on here? What?
Yeah, I think that's where I see what they're trying to do, and I suppose those games before. Yes, they didn't mean quite as much as maybe these games coming up now, and it was very much seen as that Nations League was very much seen as trying but a trial and error here. What's my best team? Who can I count on? What style are we going to play? like I think me and you spoke about it before, Chief, and I think Ireland supporters, as long as you're winning matches, as long as you're threatening, as long as you look like you might score, like you can get away with a lot. Oh, you could say, look, we were like we had one cleared off the line against who was it? Was it
Slovakia? And I missed an open goal. We should have beat them. They played well that night.
They're in the Euros, and then look, everything's not as bad as it was, but that didn't happen. So this is where you are now. Like, and again, I'm not sure what the identity is. I'm not sure. Have you got the players? I mean, like, let's play this style of football. The style of football under O'Neill and Keane was rubbish. You said Mingen couldn't watch it. If you're not getting results, then it just amplifies it even more. But for me, I often felt in those games, at least we had a bit more of a chance because we weren't going to give too much away. We were never going to score a lot. We were never going to get on the ball a lot. And then another one, I suppose, Jack Byrne. There's a few comments up about it there. Kyle McCarran's talking about Jack Byrne. Is he good enough to be number 10? Again,
I'll tell you what. See the fanfare about Jack Byrne, and he's a brilliant player. Now that'll stop now that he's in Cyprus. I think this happens. Whoever the top dog is in the League of Ireland should be in the Ireland team. And it was the same with Richie Towell. And I would argue that Richie Towell was a better player in the League of Ireland than Byrne's been for Shamrock Rovers. Richie Towell for a couple of seasons was unbelievable. He was scoring more goals than Byrne. And all the chat was get Towell in the Ireland team or whatever. He goes to England, and this sort of the talk or the demand from to be in the Ireland squad stops. And I think the same thing will happen. The same thing will happen with Jack Byrne. There'll be a new player in the League of Ireland. That's not being critical. I think Jack Byrne is a good player, but look, Stephen Kenny knows more about the League of Ireland than anyone else. And if Stephen Kenny's not picking up, then he's obviously seeing something as well. It's a different level, higher up the it's a higher standard and that. So I don't know what. That annoyed me a little bit. The Jack Byrne thing. I thought he was a brilliant player and he deserved to be in the squad. But this whole chat, get him in the 10, everything's going to turn with Jack Byrne. I'm like.
Yeah, like I think we spoke about this before as well, Chief. That like the whole Jack Byrne thing, and like look, the one, like his quality, unbelievable. We see him Shamrock Rovers week in, week out. Tearing the league apart, absolutely brilliant. He's went to Cyprus, as you say. Will there be that that same talk, that same fanfare? I don't think so. I haven't really heard about him since he's left. Obviously, he's not playing for Shamrock Rovers, so we're not going to have the same insight into him. No,
but you know what I mean? No, that type of thing. It's the same thing that happened with Towell. Do you know what I mean?
The difference is, and I'm sure the boys won't mind me saying this, like Jack Byrne was playing against, Gareth Harkin, Barry McNamee, during the week, and then he's off then to the international setup and he's playing against international footballers. We talk about Hendrick. He's playing against Pogba. He's playing against, that type of player. So
Bruno Fernandes. Remember, there was one weekend, I think Jack Byrne was in the Ireland squad, and then we were just chatting. Hendrick, I think, was playing for Newcastle against United, and Shamrock Rovers were playing Harps, and we were kind of chatting about the contrast of levels they're at, and that Byrne needs to get back to an English championship or whatever to start being a serious contender.
Yeah, and hopefully the whole, the whole idea that, he was probably going to, he saw about a sanctuary, about a safety, and McCarthy being in Cyprus, somebody who knows him, has been under his influence before, and then he gets sacked, and he's thinking, like, is he thinking to himself now, oh no, what's going to happen? Because I do know that, obviously he's out now.
He got a bad injury.
I think when he got over there, he came on a sub maybe, and I know after that there, him and another guy were pulled from the squad to do extra training, and weren't being included for a few weeks. So so obviously he wasn't at the level that he needed to be at to play football over there. Again,
McCarthy getting sacked too didn't help, so probably very quickly turned into a bit of a difficult move.
It'd be great to see McCarthy take him back over to Cardiff. He's flying with them, so it'd be great to get. We're going to be Jack Byrne back over. Again, we could see more of them. We could see
100%. Get him in that. Yeah, get him in that. But don't know anyone else. There's a lot of good comments here. JP Galler said he's loving the podcast, watching from the States. Good man, JP. So a lot of great feedback. What's Tony saying here? Ireland hard to watch. Would this emerging talent that started this last 10, 12 years not be helping? Not many players about now. We got on teams years ago. Curtis is a sub at Portsmouth and gets on. Obviously, that's Ronan Curtis. Obviously, big connection to Donegal and Derry. He's done well anytime he's actually played for Ireland, Curtis. I think he's a wee bit about him. But again, he's at Portsmouth. It shows you sort of we are where we are.
Unfortunately, that's the level. So no disrespect to young Curtis, like that. That this is the pool of players that they have to choose from.
Yeah.
Like you see up in Scotland for St Mirren as well. Young Jimmy McGrath doing really well. There's a couple of Irish lads up there.
He's an excellent player. He's an excellent player, Jimmy McGrath.
Colin Conley, lads like that. I thought maybe McAniff might have got a call up doing really well. Hearts look like they might go on. Your old team, Chief, the Jam Hearts, look like they're going to go on and win the league. So
let's hope so. Hey, let's hope so, Chief. Huh?
So I think maybe he deserves a call up because you want players that are playing. You want lads. This I think Kenny made an interesting point there during the week. Just not coming back to Duffy or giving out about him too much. But he's never let Ireland down. And that's he's not. I'm not so sure about that. I thought his last few appearances for Ireland were sketchy enough.
Who's this Duffy you're on about? You're on about Duffy?
About Duffy, yeah. And I just suppose
he's struggling.
A lot's been made about his headspace at the minute. He's had a very difficult time, and that's okay. And then I think maybe obviously he's having this conversation with Duffy himself, I'm sure, and he's asking him, "Are you available? Are you making yourself available?" And of course, you can see the type of Duffy where he would feel like he'd be letting his country down if he didn't make himself available for the squad. So he deserves a lot of credit for that as well. And I just hope things go well for him and he starts to pick up a bit of form.
Yeah, and just interesting, you're on about McAniff. I agree with you 100% about that. And just as well, if you think about it, when we asked Harkin, you played against Bourne and I didn't even mention McAniff. We were saying you played against Jack Bourne. He was like top player, but he felt McAniff was a harder player to play against just because of his energy and his quality and that too. So, I think he's someone that the Hearts fans seem to like him and that from following stuff on Twitter and that. So let's see. I don't know if anyone else got any other questions coming in here, and we'll wrap it up if you want to ask us anything else. But been a good chat that hour. Went quick, lad. Hope it went quick for everyone else watching, and they're not like these boys are chatting some shade. But Michael McDougall, Jamie McGrath flying for St Mirren, heading for a potential top 6 finish, considering the lack of standout talent. Surely he's worth a look. Good point too.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, he's worth a look, and but obviously, look, these are important games coming up. Our lads worth a look. As there any new lads in the squad that haven't been in the squad before? He's going to go with his tried and trusted lads. I think it's going to be an interesting week anyway with the Ireland setup, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more questions and plenty more abuse thrown in his direction before until he gets these lads back, but until he gets the full squad that is available to him, it's very difficult to knock him.
It is, absolutely it is, and here's hoping that he gets a couple of good results and performances. And yourself, football's a funny old game, and that a couple of wins changes everything. Like you said, if we'd beaten Slovakia, which we should have done that night, we're in the Euros. So it's all good. I see Tony McNamee is having a wee pop about the presentation of Parkhead tomorrow, on about the old firm again. Hey, the Rangers Supporters Club, Supporters Club in Ramelton is always going well. Hey, always going well.
Yeah. So, who cares? Scottish football. Who cares?
Nah, Scottish football. Don't be saying that, lad. Come on.
No, again, I think, not to get too much drawn into the whole Rangers Celtic thing, but you won the league. Do you deserve a guard of honour? Did they get it when they won the league? I think it's a bit tit for tat there, isn't it? Really. So
yeah.
I think
Michael McDougall's a good friend of mine. He's from Burton Port. He's actually a massive Rangers fan. I'm not actually making that up. Huge Rangers fan, but we'll not get into that now. Last one, right? We'll wrap it up in this. Aidan McGeady running the show in League One. Now he tore people's hair out for years in Ireland, but I'll be honest, I'd rather see McGeady than McLean. Now that's probably controversial, and people mightn't like that, but I think he just has a wee bit more craft. McLean scored some huge goals for Ireland, been a great player, gives 100%, but I don't think he's. I would probably rather, if you're talking about options, I would probably rather see McGeady there. I don't know if you agree with that.
McGeady is a strange one for me as well, because he always, without being brilliant, he showed glimpses of real quality for Ireland. I think I remember one game against Georgia where he scored 2. Not too long ago.
We double drag back on the box.
Yeah, absolute quality stuff. He's probably about 34 at this stage. like still has talents. You know, I think he's probably matured a lot now as well. I think maybe that was one as well, where he was a bit younger at that time. You know, sacked it a bit. It felt like he made his move to Sunderland, and then all that what happened with Sunderland and how they dropped down the leagues, and he kind of hung in there. For obviously he was on a decent contract, so he decided to stay put. But I think is he one that you could look at? Absolutely, I think he's worth being in the squad anyway. Definitely.
100%. And Shane Long in the current squad again, or is he still?
I think he is. Yeah, I think he is.
He's back. That's good. I just couldn't get my head around how when you are lacking that quality, how you just couldn't have someone like him in the squad. But anyway, we'll wrap it up there, Chief. Just to let the lads know, we're going to do a watch along next week for the Dundalk match.
We're going to get on for a Harps Dundalk game. We're going to have a look at that. Get on with this. Similar to this here, it'll be great to see them. Get to see kind of what we're talking about tonight. In terms of obviously we'll know a bit more after tomorrow night. What shape they go with, who's available, who looks sharp, who looks absolutely miles off it. So I'm sure there'll be none of those, but
come on next week and we'll do it, and we'll get. It's been great tonight. All the comments and interactions, brilliant. So we can all watch the game together next week and see what's going right and what's going wrong. We'll have a bit of crack at it as well. So sounds good, lads.
So thanks everybody for leaving their comments and stuff. Look, we have along the bottom of the screen there. Obviously, we have our Allergic to Silverware podcast. Get on that. Like it. Subscribe. I'm just going to ask everyone now who's left the comment. You better be subscribing to Allergic to Silverware.
Go on, subscribe, please, lads. Subscribe. It's free. Like, we're not looking for fucking €5 a month off. Just click subscribe on the YouTube channel.
And on your WhatsApp group,
the channel.
On your WhatsApp group with your mates, tell them subscribe as well. We're not caring enough fussy. We'll take anybody. So hit that subscribe button. Have a listen to some of our podcasts. They've been, we have a great crack making them. Some of the top quality guests on there, great experiences, some great stories. We're also kind of updated our Instagram page as well. So we're going to get our stories in shorter form and our IGTV form. So instead of maybe dragging through a podcast that you're not too interested in, you can have a look on there as well. And it's a shorter way. Shout out to Oisin as well for putting all this together for us. Looks quality, looks professional. Self and Mark having the clue. So we've got a lot of good direction from him. And I think we can leave it there, Chief. As we say, we'll be advertising if we're going to jump on here again for something else. But the watch along next Friday night is the one that we're going for. So hopefully you can all get back in and join us for that.
Yeah, just to wrap it up, as you say, Karen, we'll probably be doing a lot more live stuff now, just over the next few months and that, and then we'll get the guests back up and running and stuff at the minute. So with Harps back now playing games, we'll probably look to do these things, and as I say, get it interactive, get everyone chatting, get everyone's opinions and stuff. But thanks, man, for coming on tonight. Appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.
Good stuff. Cheers, folks. Thanks very much. Bye.